Apple's deal with Google this week is just the latest partnership that has seen even the biggest tech companies look outside their own businesses for ways to offer more to their customers. We, of course, have also seen a string of AI-related acquisitions lately as big companies try to grow their teams and their capabilities even faster. I want to bring on Art Levy, Chief Business Officer at Brex, to help us break down this current moment for these types of deals and transactions and partnerships. Art, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here again.
So, what is your assessment of this Apple Google partnership that we saw this week?
Yeah, so I think the name of the game on everything you touched on, whether it's the M&As, the partnerships that we're seeing, is the need to move quickly. All companies from a two-person startup to the largest businesses in the world are realizing they need to move as fast as they can. And for a long time, Apple's Siri product has not been great. And so this is them admitting, okay, we will partner with Google Gemini and immediately, because it's going to ship in 26, make the feature set in Siri much better inside of Apple Intelligence. And for Google, this is a slam dunk, right? They immediately get access to the most valuable hardware ecosystem in the US, right? The iPhone has 60% market share in the US, and they have been unable to really work with that data up until this point. So I think it's Apple finally admitting, hey, let us work on what we do best. And by the way, there's no exclusivity agreement here in the sense that
Right.
Apple can continue working on their models in the background, but it's saying, hey, we need to delight the customer right now. And it's also a shot across the bow to OpenAI, frankly, because right now, if you know, there's queries that leave Siri and go to OpenAI
Right.
if they aren't properly handled. And so it's an interesting dynamic between these three tech titans.
So, one of the questions I had for you is, look, this partnership, we just talked about it with our reporters. I mean, this one a little more clear cut. This is Apple paying Google for access to the models. But time and time again, we see tech companies announcing partnerships, right? We have partnered, and you've led these deals as well at Brex. And I mean, as someone who has never done these types of deals before, I mean, does a
You'd be
partnership
good at them.
imply? Say it again.
I said you'd be good at them.
Well, let me just do the show first. All right, we'll talk about that later on. But uh, does it always imply that money is changing hands, or are there partnerships where it's really just I'm giving you these APIs or these tools, you're giving us something else? Help us understand how they work.
Yeah, so it all comes down to the business models of the companies at hand. And so in the partnership, it's always that one company is giving something and the other company is giving something else. But what they're getting doesn't necessarily have to come from the other company, if that makes sense. So if you look at fintech deals, for example, so Brex recently announced a deal with Fifth Third Bank. That's about us being able to better monetize on their customer base through interchange, which is, something that is in the fintech ecosystem, how is the main business model. So you have to look at the business models of the companies. If we take the Apple Google deal, of course, Apple is paying Google, I think it's rumored $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's not really why Google's doing it, right? $1 billion, and it's crazy to say this, I don't think really moves the needle for Google. It's
No.
about getting access to the data ecosystem so that they can make their products better. And so with a lot of partnerships, you need to just look at what is the business model of the companies, and it will help you understand probably why they're doing those deals. So another partnership that was interesting recently is, OpenAI, ChatGPT announced their new health initiative, and they're partnering with a number of medical data providers. That's
Right.
all about making the user experience better for me when I log into ChatGPT and ask, hey, like, what's wrong with my leg?
But
And
but
so
I see it from the OpenAI angle, and I'm happy you brought that up because I that was what I wanted to ask you about. Is we saw the health partnerships announced. I think it was last week. Earlier, we also saw OpenAI partnering, for example, with Bookings.com, and you can sort of integrate. Uh,
yeah.
you can sort of find your bookings or find bookings through the chat, and I think there's retailers that are going that route as well. It's very clear to me what OpenAI is getting in these situations, which is they're getting more functionality and more integration with their platform. For the platforms like a bookings.com, it's early, and we had the CEO of Booking Holdings here on the show, and he said, "Look, I mean, we just did it. It's not like we're going to see a dent or a change right off the bat." Is there not like a risk at all, do you think, for these platform companies in disintermediating the relationship with the customer? Do you think about that at all with these partnerships?
So I definitely think about it in the way and how Brex partners with companies. I think if I'm booking.com and you heard it from the horse's mouth, the
Yeah.
CEO, what I'm thinking is that OpenAI is becoming the opening panel to the internet for, a billion plus consumers. I want to be at the beginning of that journey. And if they book via me, via OpenAI, like I'm still making money, right? So this is an example. Booking.com makes commissions off the customers when they book the hotels. Like I want to immediately be in that flow and I want to be there. I don't think that even if they're not thrilled with um what I would say is like maybe it's not the ideal outcome, but you have to take what you can
Right.
get, I
Right.
would say. And so if the choices are be left out or do it this way, I think he made absolutely
Right. And to be clear, I don't think any of this is going to change markedly quickly, in the next couple months or even a year or so. It's just I'm sort of curious the ways in which when people strike these partnerships, how do you think about the long-term implications of integrating? And so that's certainly an interesting thing to think about. The other topic I wanted to ask you about is if we sort of get out of partnerships, then we get into M&A and actual deals that we've seen a lot of. Um, how are you looking at M&A this year in AI? We've seen all these big tech companies, public tech companies, buying their way to new talent. Where do you think it goes from here?
I think that we're really in the what I would call like another founder era for large tech CEOs where it is an arms race and these CEOs are going to do whatever it takes to win. And so I think what that means for M&A is we're going to continue to see more of it, and we're going to see both the boilerplate normal buy the whole company type, and we're going to continue to see the very creative IP licensing. No one really knows what all the shareholders and employees got paid type. Because if you're Jensen or Zuck or Benioff, you are trying to win, and it is in your DNA to do what you think is right. You still control your company, even if it is a public company, and you're just gonna push as hard as possible. And I think that's what you're seeing back to what I said at the beginning of the show around speed. Like the NVIDIA Grok deal was a licensing deal, not because they were trying to screw over employees, because what has come out is that everyone got paid in a way that made everyone whole, which is at least what I've been reading. It's about speed. I read that Jensen said we need to get this done in 2 weeks before Christmas. You just simply can't get a $20 billion deal done in 2 weeks with all the sign-offs, et cetera, from government FTC with in that time frame, but you can get a licensing deal done. And so it was about, hey, let's do this as quickly as possible so we can move on. I think
You mentioned, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the other thing that I think has been normalized this year is just extremely large M&A, right? Salesforce did, I think it was 10 M&As worth 12 billion. You saw this $20 billion Grok deal that was 3x the last round from just a few months ago. Essentially, I think folks, if you're in boardrooms and folks are like, okay, Jensen is going to pay, 1% of his market cap, 20% of his yearly free cash flow on this asset, like maybe things are worth more, maybe certain things are worth more than I thought, or maybe we just need to pay whatever price to win more quickly, right? Like this is like one of the smartest people in the world. And so I think it's leading to a lot of folks thinking like, huh, like am I thinking too small?
What happens to the employees in these types of deals? Not knowing the details closely, there's a lot of reporting out there as to which deals shook out better for employees. But if I'm an employee at a tech company or I'm joining a startup, and I know that, hey, there might be a licensing deal on the horizon. Maybe it's not an acquisition. Are there any protections that I can take as an employee to help me earn that upside if that does happen?
Yeah, you nailed it. I think employees who obviously want to benefit from this, gold rush of AI and are working hard at these companies are getting smarter. So, for the longest time, you had simple change of control provisions that usually only executives would get, right? So single trigger of, okay, if there's an M&A, you get accelerated vesting. Um, on your shares, and that's not that common. But I think anecdotally what I'm hearing is that folks are starting to ask for, and in many cases receive, what I would call synthetic pref rights, which would mean that in certain scenarios their common equity is treated similarly to the cap table, which is preference equity. And so essentially in a licensing deal, you pay out the pref stack. That's why investors have always been getting made whole, even in like the windsurf deal. But in this case, this employee would have what would be phantom pref equity, which is in this one type of scenario, you would get paid out like the pref stack. And I don't think employees are giving this to everyone, and probably many aren't, but there are definitely some folks that are getting this. And again, this is just employees with a lagging indicator getting smarter because, and I'm a big proponent of this, employees should get paid for their work and should not get screwed in scenarios like this.
So this is becoming more common from the perspective of people who are trying to get hired at these companies. They are seeking these types of protections.
Yes, and I think employers are giving them because they
Right.
realize that, like, yeah, there is a chance we do something crazy. There is a chance that someone comes in and offers a very big price because things are getting more normalized because of the need to move quickly that we discussed.
Great. Well, Art, I want to thank you for the great discussion. That is Art Levy, the Chief Business Officer of Brex here on TI TV.